Today we're going to be using the pen tool for the very first time. But before we do, we're going to need to make sure that the foreground color is set to black and that when we click on the brush tool and right click, that the diameter is approximately 5 or 6 pixels and the hardness is up to 100%. Great, so let's return to the pen tool. And one final caveat, you're going to need to make sure that paths is selected, not shape layers or anything else, but this center one paths, and that's going to be significant as we move forward. So what is the pen tool and how does it work? The pen tool creates paths that we can use to make selections or stroke or do any number of things. So if I click once and then hold down, what happens is these handles extend, and I'm going to show you how they work in a second. I'm going to click again and hold down, and I'm going to click and hold, and you can see now that I'm creating these pretty interesting lines, a little abstract, and the sort of the degree that it extends out in the shape is influenced by how far I pull away. When I right click using the pen tool, I can pull up a number of options, including stroke path. And when I click stroke path, we've got a number of options. We're going to select brush, and we just selected the brush specifications earlier, and here we can see this looks pretty nifty. And when I press escape, the little path line disappears, and we are left with this. I'm going to press Ctrl-Alt-Z, and I'm going to return to this specific shape, and I'm actually going to Ctrl-Alt-Z all the way out. So let's start once more. If I click and then click and hold, it creates this nice path. I'm going to click and hold, and I can rotate around, and I'm clicking. If I now want to sort of change what this looks like, I can grab a handle by holding Alt, and you can see that the pen tool sort of becomes this interesting arrow shape right when I hover over the handle, and I can now rotate it in any degree I want, so it creates any number of shapes. So here we've got the shape, and again, if we right click and then select stroke path, we can add a stroke. This is, I guess, 6 pixels. To eliminate the path, we're going to press escape, and it's kind of hard to see even if I zoom in, but there along the interior of this line is the path. When we press escape, it disappears. If I zoom out and I wanted to make another path like so, and then I'm going to sort of connect the dots at the very beginning. If I was unhappy with this, hypothetically, I would press escape, and it's gone. It's disappeared for good. So what are the applications for this? We can do a lot of interesting effects, but we'll start with Curious George. For this exercise, what we're going to do is press F7. We're going to press Control-Shift-N to open up a new layer, and then I'm going to paint this layer white, and then reduce the opacity to, let's say, approximately 50%. I'm going to select the pen tool, and I can do that by pressing P, and I actually already started a path. I can press escape to start over. So we're going to be outlining or tracing this image of Curious George. I'm going to make sure black is the foreground color, and if I click once right here and click again, I can then pull at this in such a way that it sort of traces the exterior of his head. If I click and then pull, what we can see is that we've got an interesting effect, but we don't want this, so I'm going to press Ctrl-Z, and I'm going to adjust the handle by holding Alt, and I'm going to go down some, and then I'm going to click and pull, and when I zoom in, I can see that I'm not totally thrilled with this, so I can again hold Alt and adjust this so it sort of follows along the top of his head. I can click, 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 and that's not great, so we can always go back. I'm going to pull up, and this doesn't have to be perfect, but we can see how when we're playing around with it, it can create some pretty interesting effects. So now this is going crazy. We're going to need to go back. I'm going to press Ctrl-Alt-Z to undo this a little bit, but for right now I can see that if I right click and then click stroke path, press OK, that looks great. I'm going to press escape, and when I press F7 and I increase the opacity, I can see that we're left with this. So we're going to go around, we're going to trace Curious George or some other cartoons. A really cool effect of the pen tool is when we start tracing human beings. So I'm going to press Control-Shift-N, create a new layer. I'm going to paint this layer white. I'm going to press Control-Shift-N one more time, and this is the layer I'm going to be adding the path, and ultimately stroke to. So let's reduce this like so, and what we can do is we can sort of trace the outline of her face. And I'm going to start right here. I'm pulling and dragging, pulling and dragging a little bit, and I can see that that's not great. So I'm going to hold Alt and bring this in like so. Oops, it's running low. Let's see, let's do that again. Great. And now I can see we've got this nice path along the exterior of her face. And when I go to the layer 2, press B for brush. Actually, no, P for pencil, right click, stroke path. I'm going to press OK, and now return here, drop it up. That looks great. So we are well on our way to outlining this individual's face. So I've been working on this image for a little bit, and you can see that it has kind of a cartoony feel. I'm going to continue right now, and you can see that when I reduce the opacity, it matches the face. Again, we're not striving to replicate every single line, just the key points, just the key features. And I'll continue that right now. So I'm going to press P for the pencil. I'm going to click once, and then click and hold and drag until we got something that looks decent enough. I'm going to click and drag, and I can see that I'm not thrilled with this, so what I'm going to do is hold the Alt, drag this up like so, curve this a little bit. I'm going to continue, click and drag, and now what I'm going to do is make sure I'm in a new layer, right click, stroke, OK. And I'm going to press escape, escape. And that's pretty decent. Not the best curve, so I might go back and redo this in a little bit. I'm going to click once, click again, click. Now I can zoom in, and when I zoom in I can see that this isn't the best curve. So let's see if we can mess around with this a little bit. Hold Alt, bring this in right there. There we go. Click and hold, I'm pulling it away, so get a nice angle. That looks pretty decent right there. I'm going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to press B, right click, and I'm going to reduce this diameter from 3 to 1. Actually 3 to 2. And I'm going to right click. Actually I'm going to press P, right click, stroke. Great. And we'll sort of wrap this up right now. I'm clicking, I'm holding just so we get a decent curve. Right click, stroke. And then, whoops, we don't want to do that. What I'm going to do is press escape, escape, and sort of just get this curve right here for the left part of her nostril. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make this even smaller. So I'm going to press B before I apply the stroke. Right click, and I'm going to change it from 2 to 1. Press P, right click, stroke. Great. Escape, escape. And now when I zoom out a little bit, we can see how this looks. Let's enhance the opacity to 100%. And we can see it's coming along quite nicely. Once we fill that in, it's going to look more and more like our students. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, good luck.